Good day, this is John Michael Pastor. I'm teaching physical education in Ateneo Dinag University College of Education Physical Education Department. So we are the servicing department who teach physical education in the university. So I am here to give you an orientation about doing online physical education classes amidst pandemic. So as you notice, we have to continue learning and teaching physical education in whatever setup that we have. We just have to maximize our resources. So before we start, let us first have our opening prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, Amen. Loving God, we praise and glorify your name. We are humbly asking for your guidance throughout the day. May we have the wisdom to understand today's orientation. We are thankful that today we are alive and well. That we are given another chance to partake with the fullness of life. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, so again, good day. Let us now start. So, what I'm going to discuss to you for today's session is doing online physical education classes. So, this particular orientation, I think, will just last for 30 minutes because it's just so easy and since majority of you guys are already techie and very computer literate, so I know that you can comprehend and you can try these things and explore these things. So, yeah, so let's start. So before we begin with our formal discussion, let me first present to you our objectives for today. So by the end of this particular session, you are expected to first identify the different points to remember in doing online learning in the different learning modalities. So later we will discuss those things that you have to remember in doing online learning in physical education or in the context of physical education. Second objective, you are expected to positively integrate the different learning platforms and online learning. So those online platforms that I'm going to discuss to you, you are expected to integrate that in attending online physical education classes. And lastly, at the end of the session, you are expected to manipulate different online platforms for physical education, but in your own pace. Okay, so those are our learning objectives for today, and we will go back to these objectives later if we are able to attain it. Okay, so let's start. So for the content of my discussion for today, first is the things to remember in online learning. So I'll discuss with the etiquettes and those things that we have to remember. Since we are not going to have our face-to-face class this semester, we are going to do this particular setup. That's why the rules and the procedures will also be anchored on doing or delivering it online. Okay? The second one is the online learning modalities. So since there's no face-to-face class for today or for this particular session or semester, what will happen is I'll discuss to you what are the possible things that you can do to learn. Okay? And then lastly, I'll discuss to you the different online platforms to use in physical education course or courses. So let's start. For the things to remember in online learning for PE and health, okay, the first thing that you have to remember is physical activity is self-motivated. Okay, it is always self-motivated. So what do I mean by this? In doing physical activity, the motivation or the intention to do different tasks carefully or successfully depends on your motivation. So I have, for example, we are attending the face-to-face setup like like what we used to do before. Halimbawa, we are having our class in the gymnasium or in the covered court in Ateneo. Your teacher or me ask you to do these things, or I ask you to do 10 push-ups, and after the 10 push-ups, after I said that you have to execute 10 push-ups, hindi mo naman siya ginawa. So you are not motivated. So whatever setting that we have, if you don't have any motivation to do the different physical activities that the teacher or me is asking you to do, it will just be useless. That's why in doing physical activities, do not wait for your teacher to do these things. If you are really eager to learn or to perform different physical activities for your health, you have to have an intrinsic motivation to do that particular task that we are expecting you to do. So whatever setup that we have, physical education will always go back to you guys. Nasa sa inyo kung gagawin nyo ba talaga yon o hindi. So, it's just that ang pagkakaiba lang ngayon is, since we are in an online learning setting, what will happen is, we will take care of you, don't worry, and we are going to monitor you online and your fitness journey. But again, it is always self-motivated. That's why you have to have a motivation for you to perform the task that we are asking you to perform. So that is the first thing to remember in doing online physical education. The second one, data privacy. So since we are going to use the internet for online learning, since some of the platforms will ask you to I will ask you your private information or pieces of information, you have to be very careful of that. Okay? Because we are living in a world wide web. So it means that in just one click, anyone can access the information that you publicized. Okay? So you have to be very careful with that particular concern. But don't worry, as of this moment, we already have a law about data privacy. So you are protected by the law. But at the same time, you have to be very careful of your data or the datum that you are releasing, because that particular data or datum can use against you. For example, you are expected to, since your teacher asks you to create an account regarding this on this link, because we are going to use that online, you have to be very careful that no one is spying you, because that all the data that we are uploading or we keep on inputting in our social media or in any account that we are creating can use against you. Okay, so you have to be very careful with the data privacy. Next, another thing that you have to remember in online physical education is the human-to-human relationship. Okay, so always remember that all the physical education teachers in Ateneo de Naga Department of Physical Education, we are not part of the computer. We are just using computer for us to deliver the expected competencies that you have to learn or deliver the curriculum. Okay, so we are here, we are just using this particular platforms that we have here, pero hindi kami part ng computer. We are manipulating the computer. That's why we are able to discuss and deliver to you the competencies that you need to acquire for you to have a meaningful learning. Okay, that's why do not think that we are part of the computer. That's why we have to maintain a human-to-human relationship. You cannot talk to the computer. Okay, you cannot. But what I mean here is the relationship that we built before in a face-to-face class should always be maintained. It's just that we are meeting online. Okay, so do not imagine, or do not have a mindset that we cannot hear you or we cannot be that patient or what do you call this? Approachable as before. We are still. Okay, that's why the relationship that we had before should continue. Okay, although we have this particular setting. Next, physical activities with proper guidance. So don't worry, because in online learning and physical education, the things that we are going to ask you to submit are contextualized. We are going to upload videos which was performed by Truly Yours. So we are the one who performed it. That's why it is very contextualized in a way that your teachers themselves are those people who execute the skills that we are asking you to perform. So that's why physical activities with proper guidance. And for sometimes we are going to ask you to submit some videos of your particular task that you are performing or we are asking you to perform so that we can see your progress. Okay? So, why is it maybe some of you are asking, Sir, we can already do those activities in our class or we can do those activities in our class alone in our apartment, and we can record that and submit that to you, and then yan. But always remember that your teacher should always, or us, should always guide you in doing those physical activities. Okay, the first reason why we should guide you in doing those physical activities is physical activities should always be guided. The first one is because it can result to injury, especially for those people who are living alone in your apartment dormitories. Paano kung na-disgrasya kayo while you are doing those particular exercises? The second one is for executing advanced skills. You will have a hard time if you are you will have a hard time to perform advanced skills if you are not able to perfect or execute the basic skills. All the skills in physical education are progressive. It is step by step. It is gradual. So it means that if you failed to execute for example, in PE2, fundamentals of rhythmic activities, if you are failed to perform the fundamental positions of arms and feet, you will have a hard time to execute the different folk dances or even the basic terminologies. For example, let me contextualize it. The teacher asks you to do an arms in reverse T position. So the teacher will say to execute it first, go to your execute a second position. Then you should make your palm facing each other. Tapos, hindi mo naman alam yung second position. So, that's why it is. So, those are the things that we have to remember in conducting physical education classes. Another one is the importance of physical education and health amidst pandemic. So, always remember that to attain health, physical education plays a very important role. We can attain or optimize health through doing physical activities. Okay? Yeah, so kaya baga, physical education for fitness and health is for wellness. And always remember that the issue that we are experiencing right now is a health issue. Okay? The COVID-19 is a health issue. That's why we have to take care of our body. And we can take care of our body through having a proper diet, doing physical activities, exercises. Okay? Yan. So, just always remember that you have to do it for life. Next, digital citizenship. So, since majority of the online classes will be done synchronously online, we have to remember digital citizenship. We are all digital citizens as of this moment, especially you guys, the 21st century learners. First thing to remember in digital citizenship is kindness counts. Sometimes we people are being responsible in using our social media. Right? Even me, I am guilty for that particular concern. That's why we have to be kind. Just imagine that the network that we are having in Facebook is the same community or society that we have in real life. We have our virtual world and we have our real world. That's why some people, diba, we project ourselves differently in online. That's why we have to remember that we should only have this one thing that we have in constant, or we have to be constant in this particular thing. In real world or in a virtual world, we have to be kind. Next, give credit. So some of you will, some of the teachers, people will ask you to submit this particular thing, and then kayo naman magsasubmit. Always remember that the proper citation, okay? Because you might encounter some copyright issues that can be charged against you, okay? Halimbawa, dito sa presentation ko, I did not erase the digital citizenship by the produced or conceptualized by the MPS. Okay, always aware. You have to be aware, okay, of your data and your state of being online. Next, know your footprint. Always remember that. And safety first. Again, we are living in the World Wide Web. That's why you have to take care of yourself. And then, again, be responsible. Okay? Especially those messages that you are sending to your classmates where the teacher is discussing. Okay? So, yan. So, those are the things that we have to remember in online physical education. Let's go back to them one by one. Okay? Things to remember in online learning for PE. First is physical activity is self-motivated. It is always. Data privacy. You have to protect yourself. Human-to-human relationship. You are not a robot. We are the same teacher that you had before. Okay? We are the teacher still with the heart to teach. Okay? And then, physical activities with proper guidance. All your physical activities being executed should be guided. First, to avoid injury. Second, to execute advanced skills. Next, importance of physical education and health amidst pandemic. We can optimize health through doing physical activities or physical education. And then digital citizenships. So those are the things that we have to remember in doing online learning for PE. So now, let's proceed with the online learning modalities. So when we say online learning modalities, this is the way how the teacher will deliver the curriculum or their particular lesson. And also, this is the way how you guys will learn. Okay? So this is all about the modalities for teaching for learning process. Now, the first thing that we have to remember or under this particular modalities is the synchronous learning. Maybe some of you already heard about this. So when we say synchronous online learning, it is also possible in physical education. Okay? The teacher and students all interact online at the same time. So the learning in this particular modality is synchronous. Okay? So sabay-sabay tayo natututo, sabay-sabay natin ginagawa ang mga bagay-bagay. Okay? This is done either through text, video, or audio chat. So later you will see what are those learning platforms that we can use for online learning which focuses on synchronous way of delivering the lesson. The assignments are to be completed by specified due dates through message boards, modules, quizzes, and or the other online delivery method. So, tatandaan nyo lang sa synchronous learning, sabay-sabay tayong natututos. Ang teacher nagtuturo, tapos kayo, nakikinig. Okay? Yan, sabay-sabay tayo. We can interact with each other because we are learning at the same time. Okay? Yan. So, that is the synchronous online learning. The asynchronous or independent learning or self-paced is kabaliktaran ng synchronous. The students are given the assignment and information through online delivery and are expected to complete the assignment by the due date. It is very self-directed. It is very self-paced or independent. These are those this is the way of learning where you guys can view or execute or do those things which the teacher is asking you to do. Okay, this is done at students' own pace. Kaya, halimbawa, I uploaded some learning materials in our Google Classroom. Then, there are some instructions for you on how to do that. Okay, so, kahit anong oras nyo siya gawin within the week, as long as you can submit it on my specified date. So, that's how asynchronous learning works. Next, modular instruction. Based on what I remember, in college physical education, we are not going to have modular instruction, just synchronous and asynchronous learning. Okay? But anyway, let me discuss to you what is modular instruction. So, this uses modules either prepared by the teacher or adopted from a source. Pwede yung teacher niya gumawa ng module or it was adopted in a particular reliable source. Okay? So, in physical education, it is also possible to have modular learning for the theories. But for the particular, what they call this? Application of the skills which we are being discussed, always remember that you can only prove that you performed that particular activities if you have a recorded video. Maybe you can submit the recorded video or just a time lapse on how you executed those skills. As defined, modules is a form of individualized instruction that allows students to use a self-contained package of learning activities. Again, it is individualized instruction. In creating modules, hindi po totoo ang one size fits all. Okay? Hindi yan totoo. Okay? You have to know your students. As the number one rule in education, you have to know your students. Okay? Their background. That's why in creating learning plan, we have to to state the background of the learners, right? And how interactive or not interactive the discussion is, maybe in online setting or in physical setting. Further, a learning module contains activities intended to help students understand certain lessons. So, yan. So anyway, we're not going to use this in college physical education courses or subjects. We're just going to use the synchronous and asynchronous. But anyway, there's another way of delivering the lesson online, which is the hybrid or blended learning. Last semester, we did the blended learning because for the prelims to midterms or the start to midterms, we had the face-to-face discussion. But from after the midterms up to the end, we had the online learning. So what made it blended learning is because first we had our physical lessons, or we had the face-to-face lessons or discussion, and then we just continued it through an online learning because of the pandemic. So in this particular setting, students learn and interact both in person and online. So those four are just parts of those online learning modalities. So first, again, synchronous, where the students and the teacher are synchronously learning, okay? Asynchronous, self-based, so you can view the material or study the material in your own pace as long as you can submit it on the deadline assigned by the teacher. For the modular instruction, my modular and hybrid learning, combination of face-to-face and what they call this online learning. But again, we are just going to use the synchronous online learning and asynchronous online learning in this semester, okay? Yeah, so now let's proceed with the online platforms to use in physical education and health course. So these are the learning platforms that we are going to use for us to deliver the lesson and for you to learn. Okay? So I prepared here something which I call as Physical Education in Health Starter Pack. So I call it as a platform pyramid, just like the food pyramid, diba? We have to consume majority of those elements on the bottom part. So do not be overwhelmed the way I presented the online platforms because we are not going to use everything that was presented here. I just presented it just to prove to you that we are ready. Okay, we are ready in this particular setup of learning or in these modalities. Okay, so just like the food pyramid, we have to consume those elements on the bottom part. We have the Google Classroom, Google Meet, Google Forms, Seesaw, Padlet, and YouTube. Okay, so Physical Education in Health Starter Pack. I call this Physical Education in Health Starter Pack because a certain physical education teacher should know these things. Or this is the platforms that we can use to effectively deliver the curriculum in physical education or the lessons in the physical education. Okay, are you ready? So yeah, so we have the Google Classroom, Google Meet, Google Forms, Seesaw, Padlet, YouTube, Schoology, Office 365, Mentimeter, G Suite, iMovie, Slido, Flipgrid, Edpuzzle, PE Geek, Open, which stands for Online Physical Education Network, and Kahoot, which is a game website for you to deliver your lesson. Okay? So now let's proceed to those things that we are just going to use, but don't worry, we are not going to use everything. I just presented it so that we will have a backup or plan B. For example, hindi gumagana or down ang system ng Google Forms. Okay, so we have a quiz and then down ang system. For example lang ha, pero hindi naman ito nangyayari. Pero malay nyo mangyari. Down ang system ng Google Forms. Saan pa tayo pwede mag-quiz? We can have our quiz or examination in Schoology. Okay? For example, Google Meet, down ang system, we can use the Zoom. Okay? Yan. So, for our announcements, we are going to use Google Classroom. Okay? Google Classroom. And in Google Classroom, kompleto na yun, we can have the things that you have to submit and etc. Basta, you have to constantly check your Google Classroom for some announcements. For the recitations, we are going to use Mentimeter and Slido. It is an interactive way of soliciting the audience response. So, don't worry because for the Slido, hindi naman mahigit, your answer will be presented anonymously. Okay? Yan. So that those are the things that we are going to use for recitations, especially for my students. You have to familiarize Mentimeter or Slido. They have the same purpose, but I prefer the Slido because I can create what they call this, an event shortly, or yeah, ganyan. So for summative assessments, we are my priority, or the priority of our department in physical education, is to use Google Form for summative assessment. The Schoology is just a backup. Okay? Yan. For breakout sessions, for example, your teacher will be asking you to, especially for synchronous learning, will be asking you to, what do you call this? To brainstorm. Okay? So we can do a brainstorming in our breakout session in Google Meet. Yan. So, for asynchronous learning materials, for example, asynchronous, the recorded video of the discussion or the exercises to be executed that was first executed by your teacher, we are going to upload that in Google Classroom. Liwanag? Yan. So for meetings, for synchronous learning, so that we can have a simultaneous, or what do you call this? A learning together, or yan, we can have that through Google Meet. So maybe some of you, why sir we cannot use the what do you call this? The Zoom. Zoom is good, but we prefer to use the Google Classroom because my G Suite, and we can just, what do you call this? Create a link, or of a particular permanent link for our discussion through Google Classroom. Okay, we can generate a link where we can meet. At least it is very user friendly. Next, so the Google Classroom or Seesaw, maybe especially those physical education teachers who are teaching physical education online. Shout out to you guys. We are using Seesaw, but for the students to what do you call this, to avoid creating a lot of accounts, we can use Google Classroom where the teacher can create an assignment, and you can upload your recorded video as a response to what is the teacher or the teachers are asking you to submit. Yeah, for fitness journey. So always remember, in PE, fitness journey is very important for us to assure your performance in doing physical activities. Always remember that. For examinations, again, we are going to use Google Form, and in case that the Google Form is not working or down on system, which is bihira lang mangyari, as I mentioned before, we can use the Schoology. And I know that some of you are familiar with that, especially those students who are done taking up some subject in computer studies, because I think they are using Schoology. Yeah, and so those are the things that we can use in delivering physical education online. Okay, so for your questions, just send me a message or just send me an email. Okay, so let's now go back to our objectives if you are able to attain it. First, identify the different points to remember in doing online learning and the different learning modalities. Okay, we are done with that. Positively integrate the different learning platforms in doing online learning class. I expect that you are now going to explore those things that I have been discussed and manipulate different online platforms for physical education. So for now, you can check those online platforms that we can use for online learning. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. So again, this is Jen Michael, DC Pastor. You can call me Sir JM. I am teaching physical education in Ateneo de Naga University, Department of Physical Education under the College of Education. Goodbye and good luck. I know that you are ready with this and the department is ready to deliver our services online. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.